My name is Maxine Campbell, and I am a mother of a deaf child who is now 13 years old. And I just wanted to share some of the experiences that I've had um, since having a deaf child and realizing that um, I had to learn a whole new way of helping to educate my child and have her going through the educational process. One of the vital things that I learned was the IEP process and how it was a really important tool in order for my daughter to have the education that was suited her needs and was appropriate for her education. I was fortunate that while back in Hawaii, there was a program that went around and taught parents the laws to protect your child's education, and I took advantage of those. Those It was called Aware. It was an agency that just went around the country and to help educate parents to become advocates for your child. Um, it was a fortunate thing for me. And I remember after learning about the laws to protect my daughter's education and everything, and I remember when I went on her first IEP meeting, a woman who was a deaf infant specialist asked me if I needed anyone to be there to support her. But I was confident after learning what I did through that AWARE program that I would be able to do it on my own. But she kind of really wanted to be there because she wanted to know if the IEP was going to be appropriate. So I told her, okay, well, fine, you can come as long as you behave. And so here we were on the IEP meeting, and at the end of the meeting, she herself was totally impressed by the way the IEP went about. And so my daughter since then had been in Hawaii. There wasn't too much choices in placement. So she was in a public school in a special day class with about 8 deaf and hard of hearing children, different ages, different grade levels, and stuff. So by the time she was going into 3rd grade, I was seriously thinking what to do about her education, because now she was gonna be overwhelmed with information. So after friends had informed me about San Diego and what a large deaf community San Diego had, we decided to move here. And since then, um, it's been wonderful. And my daughter's thriving, and she's actually academically pretty successful. She just her the report card she just received, she got a 3.75 GPA, which I feel that the educational process, her IEP goals, and everything have really met her needs, and that it was realistic goals for her. So today, my daughter is a success story, but let me tell you what it was like in the beginning when I first learned that she was deaf. Of course, when she was months old, her pediatrician didn't believe me, that she could possibly have a hearing problem. And I kept talking and talking to professionals until she was referred to a pediatric neurologist for possible cerebral palsy. And when we flew to the other island to see this pediatric neurologist, I mentioned to her, because by the time we got there, Aloha had already progressed in her gross motor. So then that was out the window, the fact that she might possibly have cerebral palsy. But I did mention to her about her hearing. And this pediatric neurologist just took a tuning fork to Aloha's ear. And she says, I think you got something there. So she suggested that when I go back to the big island of Hawaii, to go to Easter Seals and tell Easter Seals I want a bear test done. From that moment on, Aloha was diagnosed severe to profound hearing loss. And I remember the day when when I went out to audiology for them to tell me the results of her test. My care coordinator from Easter Seals went along with me. And the audiologist said, Maxine, your daughter is severe to profound deaf. And I turned to my Easter Seals care coordinator and I said, well, how do I communicate with her? I have to communicate with her. How do I teach her anything if I can't communicate with her? And my Easter Seals care coordinator said, well, Maxine, there's sign language classes at the high school. I said, well, sign me up. I don't have time to waste here because every moment that I'm not communicating with her, it's every moment that she is not learning. So it was just about when Aloha turned a year old, and so there we started with the sign language, and and it was kind of, it was awkward for me. I was 39 years old, having to learn a whole nother language, have already raised two boys, and here I am raising a deaf child. I've never met a deaf person in my life, and here I gave birth to one, and I realized that I had to learn how to be a mother to her. I had to learn how to communicate with her. I had to learn a whole nother way of educating my daughter. So the sign language took off, and it was struggles. There were struggles. I really didn't have time to waste. I was just constantly on the go. So naturally, because I felt I didn't have time to waste, I didn't have time to feel guilty or to feel bad or anything because my daughter, she's my daughter. And how could I not want to learn to communicate with my own child? Of course, the family back in Hawaii went through the grieving process. Her dad's side of the family. It was hard for them to accept the fact that they had a family member who was not perfect, who was not hearing. And so I remember her dad's brother sitting the whole family down and saying, Aloha's reflection of her deafness is going to reflect our attitude towards her deafness. And but it didn't help. The family continued to think, oh no, she'll be hearing one day. Next month she'll be better. And then I realized, I slowly began to see Aloha shy away from the family because nobody was learning to communicate with her. And she would go there and feel left out. And so I felt like, okay, so this is it. We're on our own. And I just got to focus on her, and I just got to focus on her education. And just, I felt like there's no reason why Aloha couldn't be moving along like any other normal child. Only that we're using sign language. So when she was 4 years old, I put her in gymnastics, and parents, they were amazed. They were like, they didn't know she was deaf until they see me signing to her, and they go, oh, is your daughter? Yes, my daughter is deaf. And it was hard for people to say that. And I always let people know that I was very comfortable with the term deaf, because bottom line is she is deaf, because my daughter needs sign language to communicate. She is deaf, and so by that, people became accepting of it and saying, well, but other than that, she's a normal child. Yes, thank you. She is a normal child, other than she needs to use sign language to communicate. And then everything went fine after that. Moved here to San Diego, and if it weren't for the fact that my